Check Complete, a referee podcast, is an educational resource for referees by referees, designed to connect and develop soccer officials of all ages and skill levels to better serve the game both on and off the field. Episode 13 of the Check Complete podcast hath arriveth to your screen or your device. We are super excited to bring you another episode of the podcast. I'm Gordie Wetmore, your host, alongside our guest host for today, Anthony Sobolevsky. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure. We are thrilled to have you here. We've got some great content for you this week. Anthony and I are going to sit and chat. He had a really cool experience recently, so we're going to talk about that. And then we sit down virtually with Carol Anne Chenard, who is a Canadian referee, but she right now works as a FIFA VMO, a video match official. So she's on the FIFA panel working strictly as a video match official, and a pro VAR, so video assistant referee that works in the MLS as well. But she has a unbelievable story, a vast amount of experience on the field. She was on the FIFA panel from 2005 to 2020, done a zillion games. It's a really wonderful interview. I hope you enjoy and stick around for that. So we're going to chat with Anthony for a second. Anthony, Tony, whoever you are.
Yeah. I go by Tony now that we're acquainted, so.
Now that and you're friends now, so you can call him Tony.
Absolutely.
Unless you don't consider him a friend, then he's Mr. Anthony Sobolevsky to you.
That's right. First of all, I just want to say great job with the podcast. It's been so fun to watch and support. I think what you guys are doing here is great, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe loop into that how you got into refereeing.
Yeah. So again, here Tony Sobolevsky, and so I'm from Overland Park, Kansas, from this area. Grew up playing soccer my whole life, so I played club soccer. Got through club and playing in high school. And so basically played for Kansas Rush, went to Blue Valley High School in this area, was always around people that loved the game. I loved it personally, and I wanted to find a way to kind of give back, make some money as well on the side. Worked various jobs going through, high school, and then I found refereeing in 2016. And so kind of going in that order, I started refereeing, continued to play high school, and then got to get a scholarship to play at Columbia College, where I just graduated from this May of this year. So had a great experience playing at the collegiate level. Kind of put my boots up on the playing side, and I knew as I've been refereeing those summers and off seasons, kind of moving up the ladder and getting other games from youth level to adult leagues. And so now it's really, really exciting that I've been able to continue this career and focus more on the refereeing side of things. And I'm enjoying it a lot, and it's been great. Met some really cool people just like you.
Wow, I guess I'm cool. There you go. Yeah. No, that's a great story, and it is kind of funny. So Anthony and I, we first met on the field, but exactly. You were playing.
Yep.
So that was what? How old were you? Like 17?
I was gonna say dating back to 2017. I think that's the year. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were 17, and I was master classing one of your games, I'm sure. And I do remember. You remember this? You remember this? So there was a corner kick, goal kick decision. And I remember this is such a stupid thing to remember. Think of all the things that would be worth remembering, and this stuck out. Corner kick, goal kick decision, my AR is clueless, right? I look over and just nothing. And it's in where he's expected to be involved in the decision, right? Mm-hmm. And so I look over and I'm like, so I do what all of us have learned to do and just be super confident with what your decision is. And that is, whatever it was, I just went, beep, 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 corner. And your coach, who is a great guy, he and I are good friends. I think we're good friends. I'm not going to name him, but he's great. He laid into me pretty good.
Yeah.
I remember that.
A few players did too,
Yeah, a few players did.
I know the referee side, so I was trying to be nice, but
he's like the nicest person ever. So he basically just stood there and just kind of.
Yeah, I guess it is what it is.
Just kind of was like, but yeah, he was just kind of sitting there watching it. So, but then like a week later, I see you in the referee room, and I was like, "Who's that kid?" He's like super nice, and he had every right to yell at me, and he didn't. And the rest is history.
Exactly. So, look at that. You never know who you meet, and now I got some of my best friends through refereeing, and I've met many more hopefully to come. So
right. So this past summer, we could talk about your refereeing career quite a bit because it's really the trajectory. You are clearly on the upward trajectory, which is so exciting to see. But I want to highlight, and we're going to do some other highlights of referees that got to work some premier level events this summer. This past summer. And so we took you to regionals from Kansas. You had an outstanding tournament at the Midwest Regionals, which took place in the Indianapolis area in the end of June. I'm forgetting the specific dates, but we were there in Indianapolis area at the end of June. So you had a phenomenal tournament, and you got selected to work at the U.S. Youth Soccer National Championships.
Yeah, it was a great honor to be not only representing Kansas, but the whole Midwest at the national event. So
yeah,
it was awesome.
Talk to us about that experience. What was that like for you?
Yeah,
if you could, I know it's like a week, so I know that's hard to compact. But
of course, yeah, and it's been some time. But going back to it, just first of all, getting to meet so many cool people from all across the nation. So at regionals, we kind of know a lot of the same referees. We've been at this event multiple times, but this was my first call up to the national event. And the first things first is just the professionalism. All the referees there, they like to have fun, but they're there, to do well and to perform. And I loved, being able to work with so many high-level referees from all across, from all across the country, to even domestic referees from from Florida. And so I think it was a great experience because I learned a lot. I got to thankfully showcase my talents, but also take everything in. I was selected as an assistant referee. And so that's something that was great because, of course, I got to literally be watching in from the sidelines and, helping out, of course, doing my job, but also learn from the referees that were in the middle and be able to take little things from each and every referee, from each and every game, getting feedback from pro referees on the names of Nima Sagafi, Jeremy Hansen, being able to, sit down in a debrief after every game because every game was mentored by those types of referee coaches and just learn a lot. So it was a great experience, and I'm hoping to one day go back.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a wonderful experience, and to be able to learn from those, I think that's not something you just do at nationals, right? Anytime you get a chance to work with a referee, this is probably a whole other segment of things. But anytime you get a chance to work with a referee, you get a chance to learn.
Yep.
Get a chance to learn, and
that's the goal.
I know that's a huge part of you is that you're always looking for opportunities to learn. So there were some great moments there, I'm sure, some highlights.
Yeah.
Especially as an Arsenal fan, you had a good moment there.
Me and my actual roommate got to get invited, Brendan Sweetman, and so we got to go as Arsenal fans go see the Arsenal versus Chelsea preseason match in Orlando, and now top of the table as of today. So
the season's very young. They have a chance to really go down the toilet. I'm sure, so.
But hopefully we continue, and it was awesome to see them, whoop Chelsea. Let's just say that, and then continue on now. So that was one of the highlights, and then otherwise, it was just getting the referee, basically the best of the best from the youth level, doing different games from ages of 13s through 19s, and being able to see that difference in skill from the regional event to national. It was superb. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's what a wonderful experience that is. And you got, and I'm sure there's probably folks that are watching this that come, they're from all over this, the kind of this big pendulum swinging of experience and age and all that kind of stuff. So there's some that are probably watching this going, man, I would love to be where Anthony is at. I'd love to end up where he's at. So first of all, you might not get here. Okay, that requires a significant amount of nutrition, and it's all natural though.
All natty.
All natty.
Stay natty out there, kids.
I am all natural as well. Most people don't realize that.
Also, he's been bulking for the last 30 years.
I have almost 32 years.
Just wait for the cut. It'll be great.
Yeah. Am I supposed to cut, or does it happen naturally?
Well, you're supposed to, but.
Well, shoot. I've been waiting for the cut. I've been bulking this whole time. Anyway, but so for those that have gotten to that or would like to get to that place, I mean, for you, are there? I'm kind of dropping this on you, but are there any keys for you? Just about your journey? Is it just?
Yeah, no. I'm far from where I want to be, and
sure.
Nobody's perfect, and my whole goal is learn from every game, whether it's a high school game or your local domestic league, right, youth level. But for me, it's been also taking in every piece of advice, being approachable and coachable in a sense from your mentors. I've taken in everything that I've kind of been told. That way, I don't repeat the same mistakes, and hard work. I think my biggest thing is hard work pays off. It doesn't have to be necessarily always, off the field, but just being, taking every second to work hard, put in the work, obviously care about your nutrition, your hydration, your sleep, do the little things. But again, at the end of the day, you can control what you can control. And then from there on, just let the performances speak for themselves. So that's what I've done. And I'm excited to continue, climbing that ladder that we talked about and just doing my best every single game and hope to see it pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Well, we're excited to see your journey, Anthony, as you continue to grow and develop and have opportunities. Is it okay to say you just passed?
Yeah.
What did you just accomplish?
In the start of 2023, I will be the next Kansas referee with a regional badge. So
there you go. Just finished his regional upgrade assessments. So we're very proud of you for that, which is, again, just a stepping stone on the way to success, continued success, as you move up that metaphorical ladder. So we're very proud of you. This is not the last time we'll see Anthony. He's around. He has no choice. He's around. But we're really, really proud of you and excited to see where that goes.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate it. Absolutely.
Stick around now as we have a conversation with FIFA VMO and Pro VAR Carol Anne Chenard about her journey as a referee. The Check Complete podcast is brought to you in part by JF Consulting Tax Preparation and Bookkeeping. Taxes suck, we can help. Visit jfcokc.com. Well, we are super excited. Anthony and I are super excited to sit down electronically, thank goodness for Zoom, with Carol Anne Chenard from Canada. So we've become international here. This is super exciting. Carol Anne, thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it.
I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. So I do want to go over. So you find yourself in the booth now, so you work as a video assistant referee with Pro in the MLS, as well as a video match official with FIFA on the FIFA panel. So you've been just to go back. This is all on the Pro website, but I want to brag on you a little bit because you've had quite the career and it's continuing. So you were on the FIFA panel as a referee from 2005 to 2020. So quite a long time. You've had a lot of international experience working the FIFA Women's World Cup in 2011 and 2015. And I know part of your story is the 2019 World Cup, so I'll let you tell that story. You worked the Olympic Games in 2012 and in 2016. The FIFA U17 Men's World Cup as a referee in 2017. The CONCACAF Women's Under-20 Championships in 2018. The FIFA U20 Women's World Cup in 2018. And the CONCACAF Women's Championship as a VAR this year in 2022. So,
Quite the resume.
Yes, you're busy. You've been busy.
Makes me feel old.
All of this before she was 20. So amazing career.
I like you. I like you.
Yeah,
I like
there we go. So that's a little bit about kind of professionally what we can see about you. But tell us a little bit about your story, who you are, and then maybe just dive into how you got started into refereeing too.
Sure. So like you said, I was a referee, but also I've done a couple other things in my life. Before I became a referee, I was an international athlete. So I was a short track speed skater on Canada's national team for a few years. I retired from the national team in 2002 and competed in some World Cups and some World Championships and the like. So I came kind of from the athletic side, and I can, continued through my referee career to consider myself an athlete. As you know, we train and prepare just like athletes do. I also did my PhD at McGill University, and I guess officially it's in microbiology and immunology, which I guess is kind of ironic since we're in a viral pandemic. So, but I actually work for Health Canada, so the federal government in Canada, and I am basically the director of Canada's equivalent to the DEA. So I work on drug control. We don't have the enforcement side of things, so I'm not a police officer in any way, but I do all of the kind of regulatory and responding to the overdose crisis that we're having in Canada and as well in the United States. So that's kind of my professional life. I have a niece and a nephew, so I'm a super auntie. That's what I do in my spare time, and I try and spend time with my family. but yeah, I mean, you kind of made me feel a little bit old, 2005, 2006, when I came onto the international panel. But I basically started, I guess, like most people, right? I was playing soccer in this local league, nothing too competitive, and my coach made us take a refereeing course. So the entire team took a refereeing course, and it was partially so that we understood the laws. You know, we weren't yelling at referees, and if you pass the refereeing course, they offered us the opportunity. Do you want to start refereeing some games? So started refereeing kind of small-sided soccer. I thought it was a great way to make a little bit of money for university. I put it away for university, and did the swarm soccer for a little bit, and then started doing kind of house league soccer. And it was actually a Friday night. I was refereeing old timer men's soccer. So I guess that's over 35, which now makes me feel very old that's called old timers men's soccer. But, the league that, no young referee wants to referee, because everybody's telling you that they've been playing soccer longer than you've been alive. And it's a very difficult kind of league to referee. And then add to that, it's on Friday night. So, it kind of took away from your ability to go out with your friends. But it was one of those teams that wrote to kind of my provincial association. So the equivalent of your state association, it was old school. Like, it was in a printed letter into a printed newsletter, but they basically said, somebody should come watch this girl referee. We think she really has some talent. And it was like that letter that kind of started it all. It was that letter that led my local association to start coming and watching me referee, and led the province to look for opportunities for me to referee. And I always say the rest is history, but we'll probably talk about it later, but you never know who's watching, and you never know, the small thing of writing that letter. I don't know what club it was. I wish I knew the person that wrote it, but it really changed my life, right? I would never have gotten into, I don't think I ever would be where I am today without that letter. It really does take that opportunity for somebody to see you and see something in you, and support you. So I guess that's how I got started. And then, as we go through all the processes, and then I was able to become a FIFA referee. But that's kind of how I got discovered, I guess, in Ottawa, Ontario, in Canada.
Wow. Yeah, we'll get into your journey maybe a little bit more, but I do want to highlight that the importance of someone taking, not just believing in you, but taking an extra step that at that moment probably felt somewhat inconsequential for them. I'm sure they probably thought, I don't know if anybody's going to read this. It's coming from a team, and I think that's just really, that's where really, if you're listening to this podcast and you are not in the referee space, but you're involved in soccer, if you see someone, especially a young person, feeling like someone believes in you, that is, that put you, it sounded like that was, probably not the only thing, but that helped put you on a trajectory of success.
Absolutely. I mean, how you guys are referees, how hard it is to kind of toil in the local leagues, day in and day out. You're refereeing weekend tournaments, 5, 6, 7 games. It's difficult. You come home, you question, why am I doing this after difficult games, or when you're missing things with your family, you're thinking, why am I doing this? And then sometimes those small things, and it was a coach or a player, right? It was probably a player coach, old timers, it's always a player coach, right? It was somebody took the time to write that note and say something positive about me. And that just kind of put me on somebody's radar. And then it was still up to me and to try and manage my career and show them what I was worth. But it was just that small thing that kind of put me on somebody's radar that said, okay, let's go out and see Carol Anne referee and see if she has something that we can build on.
That's beautiful. There's awesome. Probably no chance that person is watching this podcast, but if you are, thank you.
Reach out.
Yeah. Send us a DM. We'll connect you with Carol Anne. So that's so beautiful. So let's dive in a little bit. I know this is a really long conversation, if it could be, but just your progression. I think a lot of referees who are climbing that metaphorical ladder are always curious about what that looks like. So what was that process like for you?
Sure. So after when I first got kind of discovered and I was doing, house league soccer, I kind of just got more and more opportunities. So, I was one of very few females in Ottawa. So when there were bigger games that were coming to Ottawa that involved women's teams, I often got the opportunity to referee in those. So that was really good. There was a pretty good community, refereeing community. There were a lot of males, but they were pretty supportive of me as a young female coming through. So I started doing more provincial level games. It was a bit difficult because at this time I was balancing both being a speed skater and coming home in the summers, being away for university, coming home for the summers and refereeing, needing to train and also commit to some training camps and things that athletes have to do. So I did find it a little bit difficult at the beginning. I will say, I tried to give time to both, which wasn't always easy, but I tried to kind of dedicate time to both. And it was when, so I was living part of the year in Quebec, which is another province in Canada, for school, and then coming home kind of to referee in the summer. And when I started my PhD, I was really kind of at the tipping point of moving from like a state level referee to a national referee. And I was lucky in that the province that I was kind of temporarily living in also supported me as a referee and was really kind of willing to support my move to the next level as a national referee. But what was really important was, and what I think this Quebec did really well for me, was they had like a state tournament, a provincial championship at the end of the year. And they invited all of the kind of up and coming referees to go to that tournament. We went there. They paid for us to go. We stayed in hotels. We ate together. And it was really the first time I felt a real referee community. I was meeting people and talking to them longer than just the pregame and the 20-minute after the game when you were leaving. It was there where I really found the refereeing community, which I think was really important. I eventually received my national badge, and that's kind of where, I started refereeing professional men's soccer in that first year. So back in the day, it was either the A League or the USL, like it always, NASL, it like flipped back every year. And I was refereeing that. And then I refereed that for 1 year and then became a FIFA referee. But what I do want to point out is when I was 18, 19, 20 refereeing, if you asked me to my face, did I want to be a FIFA referee? I would have nodded and said yes, because I knew that that's what everybody wanted me to say. But in my head, I was saying, who wants to be a referee, like a professional referee? I always thought I'm going to go to the Olympics. It's going to be as an athlete. I'm going to go as a speed skater. I thought, why would I want to do this long term and get yelled at every weekend? And, but it was really kind of an evolution. My goals changed, things changed in my life. I retired from skating. There were opportunities that presented themselves from a refereeing standpoint. So, a little bit about timing, a little bit about changing of goals, a little bit about those opportunities, those carrots that are dangled in front of you. Like, when you do well and you get another opportunity, it's kind of feeds your fire to keep moving. But I don't want people to think when I was 20, 21, 22 that I said to myself, yeah, I'm going to be a FIFA referee, because that isn't it. It was really an evolution of people supporting me and keeping me involved in the game when it gets difficult, because everyone knows it's difficult, and so it was, it was definitely a journey for sure. And I always say way harder to be a local referee than a FIFA referee, because everything you hear on a local pitch is super personal. You hear it, it's about you. You can hear every single thing that people say. In a big stadium, yes, it's loud. It's it can be lots of boos, but I don't hear word like Carol Anne. I don't hear that girl. I don't hear, really personal comments about myself. And I'm also have more experience than those young referees that are having to be in the middle of those pitch every day, right? It's really tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's amazing. All the paths are different, but there's a lot of commonalities, especially as we've heard all the interviews. It's really a beautiful story. So highs and lows along the way. I'm sure you experienced both of those things. What were some of each for you?
Sure. So, coming through the system as a young referee, so when I was refereeing local soccer, it was tough. I was a young female refereeing, men either the same age as me or older, and dealing with adult coaches, which can be difficult. So that interaction from a young person to an adult can always be difficult, especially when it's heated and there's disagreements. And so that was always difficult. I remember a few times coming back home and saying, like, why am I doing this? And, my dad was an international speed skating referee, and he really, he was the one that kind of kicked me in the butt. Like, always said the things just to annoy me enough to make me want to work harder. Where my mom was a little bit more give me the hug and pat me on the back, my dad really kind of kicked me in the butt and, said, well, don't you think you can do it? Do you think those guys are better than you? Just the little things that I needed, the kick in the butt I needed. So that was really difficult. That period, that transition, like, is this really something I want to commit to, is always really difficult, right? You're starting to go to university, you're taking on a job. It's harder to balance things in your life. So that was always really difficult. I think at the international level, as you said, I was a FIFA referee for, 15 years. And I always wanted to be amongst the top referees in the world. It's not possible to always be at your peak, as we're training. And so there were some difficult times, as you're transitioning, maybe you're not as fit as you wanted to, or, you're struggling with a new philosophy or a new training system, and you're trying to figure out how can you make it work for you. And I definitely had that kind of in between, like after the Olympics in 2016 and in preparation for 2018, I kind of had this 6-7 months where I was really struggling kind of with the new training, and it just wasn't the type of training I was used to. And I'd been training my whole life, and I was trying to integrate, the new training. I was really struggling, and I found it really difficult because I felt like I was knocking my head a little bit against the wall, trying to explain why I was struggling, and maybe people not necessarily listening. So that was really tough. And I mean, I've had some really amazing experiences, right? Like I've been on the field for some of the biggest games in women's soccer. I've been in the Wembley Stadium, with 72,000 people. I've been in the Maracanã in Brazil. I've been involved in some firsts, all over. I've met like some of the most important people in my life I've met through soccer. So I don't even think I can list the number of highs. And I think that's what soccer is, right? We fight through the lows for those opportunities that we get, for those wonderful moments that we walk out on a field where, whether it's our parents are there, or whether somebody's watching us on TV, or whether it's just a big next step for us. I think that's what makes the lows and the struggles and the waking up at 4:00 to train. And if you live somewhere, I know you guys are somewhere hot, but it is often very cold in the middle of the winter here. And it's very dark when we have to get up and train. And that's what makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. John Freeman, our last guest, was talking about having a why. And so I think that's kind of what you're talking about there, is knowing, okay, because it isn't always sprinkles and rainbows and butterflies and everything, right?
We all wish it was, but everyone knows refereeing is, even on your best day, you're 50% of the people think you were right and 50% think you were wrong. So even when when you're 100% right, you still have 50% of the people who disagree with your decision. So it's definitely not a profession for the faint of heart, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So I think, I'll ask this now, and then we'll get into some of our fan questions. But and I warned you that this was coming, as far as going back and telling your first year, first game. You already tracked us through what that experience was like early on. But if knowing what you know now, what would you go back and tell brand new Carol Anne?
So, the brand new first year was actually kind of fun. It was like swarm soccer, little kids, it was a little bit easy, but I would say it was more like the second and third year that got a little bit more difficult. I think I would say surround yourself with really great people, right? Like find those people, whether it's in soccer or outside of soccer. You have to have that support system. If you don't, it's really, I think it takes referees sometimes too long to find those people, and also it's okay to not know the answer, right? I think when we first start refereeing, we think we need to know every answer, and we don't want to reach out to people because we're worried they're going to think that we don't know what we're doing. But that's why I said, if we find the right people and we're not afraid to ask the questions, always learn, which I hope I've always continued to do. But I think get the right people around you, and then it's going to be worth it. The really crappy days, like if I could tell, I started when I was 14, like if I could tell 16, 17, 18-year-old me, like it will be worth it, I swear, I would do that. And, even outside of soccer, so when I was applying for work after I finished my PhD, I always struggled, like, do I say I'm a soccer referee, like on my on my resume? Like, are people going to think, okay, well, I don't want to hire her because she's going to be away, and I really found that it helps in all aspects of your life. The companies and the people that I aligned with, like from a job and philosophy standpoint, all looked at your refereeing experience as a positive, right? As a positive in people management, in experience, in self-confidence, in all of that. So I think, it doesn't have to be, it's worth it. You're going to be a FIFA referee. I think you're worth it. You're going to have great experiences that are going to contribute to your development as a person.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's important as well.
That's great.
Well, and I think, you're kind of redefining success in there, right? Like helping people understand that what is successful isn't, because not everybody's going to get to a white badge, I think about it in my own life, right? I'm nowhere near there. I've had plenty of people tell me I'll never get anywhere near there, but most fans, yeah, that's right. But no, but I think when you're able to re-articulate what success looks like and having a bigger picture, like you said, I think that's so good. Just thinking about what are the life skills that I'm learning? What are understanding something that's bigger than soccer? And I think that that's such a beautiful testament. And that helps. I'd like to think that helps swallow medicine that's hard to swallow when you get to the point where the answer is no, right? Or when there's stuff along the journey that's pushes you in a different direction. I don't know.
Well, and even when it goes wrong in a game, right? When you leave that game and you say, like, what just happened? Either we're our own worst critics. So either I'm angry at myself for what happened, I'm embarrassed, I'm frustrated, that there is a bigger picture. It's really important in the moment. The game is important. The match is important to the referees, and it's important to the players and the coaches and everything. But ultimately, it is a game, and there are bigger things and more important things. And you have to be able to move on, because if you get stuck in the churn of the bad situation and you can't learn from it and move on, it's going to be a really long and painful, likely career, because we're never perfect. We make mistakes every single game, and you have to be able to just move on from that and just kind of adjust that. So you have to I always felt like balance was really important. So if you're a professional referee, if you're an athlete, if you have an important job, having that ability to have something that balances you in your life away from soccer or away from your job helps in that it helps switch that mindset, right? It switches. I know when I was skating and I moved away from home the first time and I was going to university, and in theory, I was training at the National Training Center. I should have been going like this. And my first year, I kind of went down a little bit because I was adjusting to all of this new stuff. And I found that I got stuck a little bit in this, why am I not skating better? Why am I not skating better? And until I could kind of extrapolate myself into something different, so whether it was school, whether it was soccer, right? In soccer, I have to give 100%. I have to concentrate 100% on the game. I can't be thinking about what's going wrong in the rest of my life. And that helped. It helps kind of take away that stress. And I think, so for me, balance is important. I think being too focused on one objective, you have to be focused, but you also have to have something that balances that so that we don't get too one-dimensional.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to add another thing in the big pictures realm, that, those mistakes that we have as referees, I think they can go back to helping teach the younger referees or the next generation of referees on, these are things that we can learn from, and, who's going to replace you eventually, right? Who can you influence with your experiences and with those mistakes that you have made, and then create, a brighter, better future in the referee development. So.
Absolutely. I think refereeing is a profession of experience, right? If you go back to that first, I can still remember my first men's professional game, how nervous I was for that first game. And then a week later, I did a second game, which the game itself was much more difficult, but it felt easier because I'd had the experience of the first game. And I think you're never able to, we say you're never going to see that video clip that you saw exactly the same way. And I kind of feel like as a referee, what I love to share, I feel like my experience on the pitch can help other people, like you said. I'm not saying I go around and say like, oh, everybody, I really screwed up and this is going to help you. But I do think you have to be open and say, I made this mistake. and here's what I did to fix it, and here's what I did to make it better. You can't always you can't always tell people, oh, I don't make mistakes. I was perfect. This is my career was always like this, and I never made a big mistake. And I agree. I think you have to be able, and that's where that community comes in, right? The community where you feel safe to share, where you reach out to your colleagues and say, holy crap, I just had this situation. I don't know if I made the right decision. Can we talk it through? Mm-hmm. Right? That's where it's so important.
Yeah. And having those people you can call after games and share those experiences, that's all important. That's why that friendship and community is great. So
absolutely.
Good stuff. Well, let's get into some fan questions here, some juicy fan questions, I suppose. I don't know how juicy they are, but they're questions nonetheless. So lead us off with one.
All right. So Brendan from Kansas asks, what are some of the main differences between domestic and international VAR protocols? And is there one that you prefer?
Sure. So, I mean, I think the protocol itself is pretty similar, but obviously there's a few differences. So at FIFA, there's many cameras, many more cameras. And I think the technology is there's just more technology involved, right? You've heard about semi-automated offsides. There's the line drawing, which we don't use in domestic leagues. So the offside line, where they're using lines to see if a player is offside or not. There's also, at FIFA, we call them factual reviews. So if did the foul occur inside or outside of the penalty area? Did for offside, a player who becomes involved by playing or touching the ball, those are considered factual reviews. So the referee, we actually don't send them to the video screen. So we would just say, I recommend a factual review. The foul occurred inside the penalty area if they've given it outside, and they don't actually go and look at it because they're saying it's factual. Now in the MLS and in domestic leagues, in the MLS, we send them to the screen for everything. In CONCACAF, we have a little bit of, we have factual reviews, but we don't use the lines. And sometimes I would say the level of intervention is a little bit different. So in the MLS, we have clear and obvious, and it's very, there's quite strict guidelines. At FIFA, sometimes the clear and obvious bar is a little bit lower, where they're looking for, is the decision correct? Is it not? That type of thing. But the overall protocol is the same. I think it's just some of the implementation in the domestic leagues and in CONCACAF can be slightly different.
Yeah. Dovetailing off that slightly off the script a little bit, just VAR as it's been rolled out, it has been fascinating from a lower level referee / fan standpoint, how that's all unraveled and how it's continuing to play itself out. And you're obviously a very vital part of that rollout. What's the experience been like for you? Is it fair to ask, are you pro VAR? I don't know if that's a fair question.
Sure. So, I mean, when in preparation for the World Cup in 2019, obviously when they decided that VAR was going to come into the women's game, right? We had no experience with it other than watching it on TV like everyone else. So we kind of, those of us that were in the program for the World Cup in 2019 started training. And what I feel is no referee goes out to make a mistake in a game-changing decision, right? We don't go out in a World Cup. We don't want to make an incorrect penalty decision or miss a goal or miss a red card in those big games that, may lead a team to be knocked out of a World Cup qualifier. So anything that can help the referee kind of, from that perspective is really helpful, because no referee goes out wanting to make a mistake. I think, the way that VAR has been introduced to try and avoid, breaking the game up too much, I think has been really positive. I think for sure there have been some stumbling blocks, whether it's, regionally or whether it's, internationally. Obviously there's, it's a difficult thing sometimes to understand, just like when we try and teach people interpretation of the law, all of those considerations that we as referees learn that aren't found in the laws of the game, but are behind the laws of the game, right? And that we learn when we're taking courses. It's a little bit the same as the VAR. And I think part of it is teaching people, what does clear and obvious mean? What does it look like when a VAR intervenes? And I think part of the kind of, as we move forward, you're seeing more descriptions in the stadium about what's happening. You're seeing more communication with the TV so that they're not sitting there going like, we have no idea what's being reviewed. And they're talking about, they're really trying to educate kind of the spectators, because it's a difficult thing. I can't imagine sitting in a stadium, there being a review and you have no idea because they're not showing anything on the screen. There's no communication. So I think that's going to be the next stage where you're getting more and more communication. I think you're already seeing people showing the behind the scenes. There's been a few times where they're showing the communication between the VAR and the referee. But so as a referee, I'm pro anything that can help the referees get the decision correct. Obviously, soccer is a human sport. So I don't ever want to take away the human aspect of it. And I think, just with VAR, it doesn't mean the referee is going to get every decision correct, right? It's still the referee on the field's decision, and VARs can only intervene in certain scenarios. But I think the human aspect of the sport is still there, but we're also we're getting to the point where we're eliminating some of those real big mistakes that can occur in a game and can have a big impact.
Yeah, that's great.
Very good. Yeah, I think that's a very well-intentioned goal, and I think the MLS has rolled it out in a pretty positive way. At least I don't watch a lot of other domestic leagues that closely, but it's been fun to see how the MLS has rolled it out. So this comes from Jeremy in Montreal.
Canadian fan.
There you go. So he says hi, and he says, from your first few years starting out as a referee to working now as a VAR, how have you seen the refereeing landscape change? He says, for better or for worse? That's a big question.
Huge question. So I think first, the game has changed, right? The game just develops, it evolves, it becomes faster. You see different tactics come into the game, which therefore impacts how referees have to develop. So if I think back to my very first international tournament, and the real tournament that sticks out for me for a real, kind of shifting point in women's soccer is the 2011 World Cup. It was everything people love about soccer was in that tournament. People who never watched women's soccer watched that soccer tournament and said, it's fast. The girls play hard. They tackle hard. They get up. But everything that they don't like, mass confrontation surrounding the referee, it wasn't in that tournament. So as referees, we had to evolve, right? So the pace of the game has increased, like just in my career, like exponentially. So if I talk about women's soccer, exponentially, the speed, the players, there's more professional leagues, which means we have to adapt. We have to adapt our positioning, our fitness, our preparation. I think there's a lot more investment and recognition of the role of referees in all leagues today, right? We've come out of COVID where we've lost a lot of referees, and leagues are realizing that they don't have enough referees to run their leagues. Mm-hmm. We were losing referees because of about the abuse and the dissent, and so there's a lot more investment into trying to deal with those issues as well. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying that it's fixed any of that, but I think there is this recognition that without referees, the leagues will fail. And so there is more investment. I think there's far more opportunities for referees. There's many more tournaments. I think it's a kind of open for everybody. If you want to try a local, you just want to be a local referee, that's great. You want to do state, provincial, that's great. So I think that investment has really helped refereeing. And I think it's made people and professional referees in the United States, professional leagues, in Canada and the US, gives people a goal, mm-hmm. right? Like, if I think when I first started, there was a semi-professional league. There wasn't a professional league. And I also didn't see myself, even though I knew I could referee men's soccer, there were no females refereeing in those leagues. So, now you see those people, you see, the Tories, the Katies, the Felicias, all of those people on the field. You see the girls going to the World Cup. So, anything's possible. And that's from a male-female perspective. It's everybody, right? There's, I think, more opportunities now as well.
Yeah, no doubt. So along the female line of things, I know we had a couple questions that came in that were talking about gender specific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going along the gender line. So both kind of Isaac from Kansas and Julie as well here asks, kind of what are some of the challenges you face being a female referee, and then what is kind of like the most challenging aspect, and how do you approach those?
Sure. So I think I've been really lucky in the sense that I've had a lot of support at every level that I've entered into, from coaches and players and that kind of thing. But I do, what was always the most frustrating is when I arrived at the field as a female referee, they always thought it was my first game at that level. Like, it didn't matter how many times I refereed in like the USL. I did the USL final the year before, and they're like, because you just didn't see the teams enough for them. It wasn't like you were refereeing that same team every week. You were getting all these teams visiting, because we were only refereeing in Canada. So I was only seeing those few teams that were coming in from the US once in a while. And so it was always like, we have a female referee was the first question. And then, it was always like a joke. Is this your first game? And I remember one time in anticipation for the World Cup, we had a TV camera come out and they were kind of following me. And I said, oh, they're only following me because today is my first game. And like the Canadian team knew that was a joke, but the American team kind of looked like, oh no, like, is she serious, right? So I always found that a little bit frustrating because, we always say you have to prove yourself every game, right? Which is true of a male or female referee. You go out on the field, they want you to be the best referee that you can be and be able to manage the game. They're going to challenge any referee for the first 10 or 15 minutes. But I always felt like it was a little bit extra for me because they always thought it was, they would just question. I'd be like, this is not my first game. Can we just move on? So I always found that a little bit challenging. And of course there are archaic gender views that some people hold. Yes, I've heard them before. I wouldn't say they're the thing that sticks out the most in my brain. I've always tried to focus on the positives and the people who have supported me, but it's difficult. And I think it's most difficult when you're young. Again, when you're an adult and you have experience and you have self-confidence and I've been at this level before, it's easier. But when you're a young referee, male or female, and you walk out on that pitch, it's tough. And it can be extra tough when you hear all the parents saying, is that chick refereeing? Like that kind of thing. It can be really difficult. And you hear it. That's the problem, right? You hear it and it becomes really personal. And you do feel a little bit alone. That even as a FIFA referee, I hated that walk from the parking lot of a local pitch, like across the field to go to the other side, just because I just felt like everybody was like, oh, and then you hear all the guys kind of chit chatting on the back. It's really difficult. So that's the hard part. And that's where I think, the community and people supporting, and hopefully you being able to have some people maybe there to watch the game and some mentoring is really important.
Exactly. And Gordie, like in the team here, they help instruct these classes with the entry-level clinics. And I think one of the biggest things we're seeing now is that there's more, female referees, especially at the younger ages. And this is great. But one of the problems is that parents have been an issue, not only in our domestic leagues, but all around the country, I'm sure. And these young referees, of course, they don't have that experience or that self-confidence maybe at that point. And it's their first weekend, they're out there to make some money, have some fun, give back to the game that they love. But unfortunately, we have stories of young, female referees getting yelled at by parents and, whatever the case may be, but then they quit because, and that's why I think it's important for us to continue educating not only, referees, but also parents and helping grow those, that confidence in younger female referees too.
Absolutely.
Well, and that connects to our final audience participant question here. Ryan from Wisconsin writes in, as a male referee, he wants to know just basically any tips, anything that he can do from your perspective to support female referees, especially the young female, the ones you're talking about. And really probably kind of the way you answered the previous question, it almost doesn't matter the gender. It's just all of the developmental needs of a young referee. But I think his question is specific. And he follows it up by stating there aren't very many female referees. And when he gets a chance to work with them, he wants them to have fun and he wants them to come back. So you have thoughts for Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, first of all, being a supportive crew is really, really important, right? Working together, having that pregame, really supporting one another during the match. If the female is working as an assistant referee and, there's players coming after them, just doing normal referee things and protecting your teammates. And, I think mentorship is a really important thing. So, asking the referee after if they have questions, if providing that support. Hey, is there anything I did in the game that you have a question about? Do you have any questions for me? Knowing that they're a new referee. I really think the way for us to keep referees is mentoring, is having that person that's there to help them, because when you have a game, when you're by yourself and it's gone bad, you have to get in the car, you drive home, it takes forever. Like, really having somebody there right away would be really helpful for some of those young referees. So being that person who, is just supportive. I think for me, I was really lucky in that they really treated, like, I also didn't want to be treated differently. I wanted to earn every opportunity that I received. I wanted to earn it. I wanted to be, and I still do. I want to be the best referee for that game. So, don't do me favors, but be there to support me as a teammate would. And don't, I'm not trying to take, sometimes they would say, if I got a game, they would say, oh, you're taking my game from me. I want to be the best referee. So you come watch me referee. Watch, see if, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do a good game. I'm going to be assessed by the same assessors as you, I'll run the same fitness test as you. But I think just being a good teammate, being a good mentor, and just being supportive is probably the best thing that we can do.
I would think the concern with most is that they don't want it to come across as favoritism or like special treatment. And I know I feel that way when I work with female officials. It's like, I want to treat you just like, gender shouldn't matter, right? Exactly what you're saying. And so I think that's probably what Ryan is hinting at, some of the challenges of that. And I think you've articulated that well.
And I think too, I think in all sports, so whether you're a referee or whether you're an athlete, there's a period of time where, friends and teammates and enjoyment is really important. And that, we've seen that in women's sports where we lose a lot of athletes, right? At 16, 17, 18 years old. They really value kind of the camaraderie and the teammate and being fun. So, like you said, it's not about doing anything extra special. It's just about being a good teammate and working, especially a good teammate for a young referee who's up and coming. If you have experience, you need to be able to share that experience in a positive way. Talk about the opportunities, right? There are enough opportunities. If you worry about doing your job well and supporting others and being friendly, and being the best referee for that game, it's not about hoping somebody else does something wrong or anything like that, right? It's about if you're a good person, be a good person. That's what, like I always say, a good referee is a good person off the pitch. FIFA looks for people who can contribute to the team on and off the pitch. And I think that's what I would say to people. Just be a good teammate, contribute to the positive, joy of refereeing. That's why we do it, right?
Yeah,
exactly. So we're all family. So
exactly.
That's right. So good. Well, unfortunately, we're coming to a close, and I warned you that this question was coming, but you get the final word. You get to say whatever you need to say to help you sleep tonight, but you are fairly sleep deprived from flights. So like you said, you'll probably sleep well anyway.
Exactly. I think for me, one, have fun. If you're not having fun, this is a difficult profession to not enjoy what you're doing. But I guess the way I approach games all the time, but I probably didn't hit home until the last couple of years, is referee every game like somebody's watching you, and like it could be your last, because you never know, if somebody watches you, what that opportunity can be. And I'm proof of that from my kind of how I got discovered. And then, referee, like, you never know when you're going to get another opportunity or what's going to happen. So enjoy it, have fun, but yeah, work hard.
That's great. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes, Carol Anne, thank you so much. We are so appreciative of your time.
This was awesome. Thanks, guys.
The Check Complete podcast is brought to you in part by JF Consulting Tax Preparation and Bookkeeping. Taxes suck, we can help. Visit jfcokc.com. We're so thankful that you've taken time to watch/listen to the Check Complete podcast, episode 13 to be exact. I want to give a shout out first of all to Carol Anne Chenard for her time. We are so appreciative of that. I know she had an early flight the morning that we taped this, and so we recorded it later in the evening, so we're very, very appreciative of her time. What a wonderful interview to sit down and chat with her. I was sad to have to end that.
She was great.
Yeah, so we'll continue to see her succeed at the highest level as a VAR or a VMO. So thank you again, Carol Anne. We appreciate that. Anthony, Tony, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a part of the team and hopefully be back.
Yes, we will have you back. It's a very rigorous process, but we'll have you back for sure. So we do want to say, if there's those that are be interested in following your journey, and we'll tag you in some of this, but we can also give you a chance to shout out your little social medias things.
Appreciate it, yeah. I was going to say Instagram is Anthony_Sobolevsky37, but if you're looking for any tips and want to see any, you need any help with the fitness side of things, follow my Instagram and TikTok fitness page at t.fitness365.
There you go.
Check it out.
So common spelling there on Sobolevsky.
Yes.
If you're wanting that, to know how to do that. So
You'll put it in the description.
there you go. Yeah, we will. Very good. Yes, and make sure that you like and subscribe to our podcast. So if you're watching on YouTube right now,
It's right up here.
wherever, we're not really sure where the button is.
Well-
It will be somewhere. I'm going to decree
He's going to guess where you think.
right here.
Boom.
Mark will make it happen.
Press that like button and turn on those notifications. So anytime we post, you're there.
Turn on those noties.
Yes, sir.
Is that a thing?
Noties, yeah. Well,
I'm 32. I don't know any slang.
like and
terms.
subscribe. Drop a comment, especially. And if you have any negative feedback, please write it on the back of item number 2027, the small but mighty double action pump. And we'll get right back to it.
Yeah, we will. We definitely will. Absolutely. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you at check_complete on Twitter and Instagram, Check Complete Podcast on Facebook, info@checkcompletepodcast.com on the old email. We'd love to hear from you. If you have comments or suggestions for things for future clips, we will be announcing our next guest very shortly for episode 14. Look for that announcement and send in your questions in advance for that guest. So we're super excited to bring you another episode very soon. We hope you've enjoyed this episode as always. Tony, thank you again, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Stay safe out there. If you're out refereeing, have a lot of fun. Continue to build that community. Be kind to one another. Thanks for listening.